Thank you so much for sharing that. Like she said, it really brought this spirit of how you think and rather the intentions behind being fight or being living. And I think I'm a journalist, and I was covering this when it all began in 2021. And something that keeps coming up, which you brought up also, this is the problem that someone who is living in a marginalized community speaks when they get displaced. So the question of whose land is it? Who does this land belong to? Just because you live here, does that mean you own it? Just because you rely on your livelihood, your health, everything lives on, does that mean it belongs to you? And I think it also boils down to a lot of identity politics. So just going with what Piyush was talking about, this actually, it's all going well. So how have you been trying to speak to, be it general public or these persons are opposing the Auroville way of thinking as to why this land belongs and needs to be dealt with in a certain way, and that does not have to reflect in a patta paper of sorts.
Hi everybody, my name is Arvinda, coming from Auroville. A very nice question that you asked, and it's a very basic question. Who does the island belong to? My very first reflection on that goes to the first line of Auroville Charter given by the mother, which says, Auroville belongs to nobody in particular. Auroville belongs to humanity as a whole. But to live in Auroville, one must be a willing servitor of the divine consciousness. Now it's a very simple two-phrase line, but it means a whole world of deeper meaning. And this is an invitation from the spiritual inspiration to go beyond owning land. We don't own land. In fact, there are traditions which say you cannot own land, the land owns you. So who are we to own the land? And in that sense, Aurovillians have embraced that. None of the Aurovillians who even contributed to the purchase of that land take any ownership. They say it belongs to all of us. It belongs to the dream of this divine community. It belongs to humanity as a whole. So they gave up their security of personal ownership for the sake of the ideal. What has happened is that because of the way the country is organized, you still need an official owner. So, in the passage of time, and I will not go into the history, Auroville Foundation Act was made in 1988. Government of India trying to help the residents at that time who were going through some crisis, and that crisis is because the arrangement of Auroville and the way it started under Mother's guidance and under her leadership could not carry on the same way because she had left the body. So human egos and human conflicts and human problems started coming in. To which Government of India at that time was appealed, and with the good connections that they had, they said, okay, we'll come and help you. But it was not to take the ownership. The objective of Auroville Foundation Act is clearly mentioned. It is to secure the freedom of the residents of Auroville to continue the experiment according to the charter. This is very clearly mentioned in the Auroville Foundation Act. It has been completely set aside with the way things are happening right now. It has become ownership by the Government of India by using this clause and that clause and part of that clause, and that's what it is. And it has been going against the very basic things which the Charter itself says. The Charter says, the Foundation Act says, Charter is the basis of Auroville and nothing should go against the Charter. So now, for me, the image is, there was this beautiful dream of the charter, which was very too high maybe for spiritual, for the human society. They were doing their best to try to get there. There were problems. To solve the problems, government was called. They came in, they tried to help in their way. I see the charter like a scaffolding you put around a building to try to maintain it. You know, if you have to repair a building or you have to build something, you put a scaffolding around. So, if Auroville Foundation acts as a scaffolding to protect the charter and the ideal of Auroville. Now, when there is a scaffolding that you build to maintain or to do some construction, should the scaffolding decide how the building should be, or should the building decide how the scaffolding should be? And what is happening right now in Auroville? The scaffolding is deciding how the building should be. That's in a very short thing. And so, in terms of land, because of that ownership came to the Auroville Foundation, and the foundation, which was very clearly made with 3 authorities. It was a unique foundation act. It says this foundation has got 3 authorities, not like any other foundation you have where there is governing board and a chairman. That's it, that's the authority. Here there was governing board, there was residents assembly, which is not an elected body of the residents. All residents are members of resident assembly of Auroville. And it is an authority according to the charter, according to the Foundation Act. And the third authority was International Advisory Committee, because as soon as the initial problems started in Auroville, Government of India, right in the beginning, even before the Foundation Act, called influential people that were connected to Auroville from around the world to have an International Advisory Committee. So to keep the universality of the experiment alive, to have the knowledge of all across the globe to help that experiment, and to have the reach to the whole world. Auroville belongs to humanity as a whole. It's not belonging to only the residents or the governing board. But in the last 4 years, with the latest governing board appointment, where even the criteria mentioned in the Auroville Foundation Act as to who can be a governing board member, even that has been bypassed. Because the very first condition of being a governing board member for Auroville, one must have made significant contribution to Auroville. Now imagine, anybody who has worked with Auroville, has made contributions, will understand Auroville and will be a good governing board member. The last governing board member appointees were political appointees. They had no past interaction or anything to do with Auroville. So these things have gone out of track with sidelining even what is mentioned in the Foundation Act itself. And it's like might is right. That's the way things are happening now. I would not go much more into that. I think there are better people telling about it.
So that's the ideal perspective and the challenges you've brought it up. So it's a very interesting question as to who owns the land. You know, there are 3,300 acres. There is few common misconceptions which I would like to clear. A lot of people, when they come as casual visitors to Auroville, say that, oh, government has given you so much land and you guys are enjoying it. You know, so just to make some facts clear, not a penny of government money has gone into land purchases. It is 100% through donations and personal contribution of the residents, well-wishers, devotees, supporters from across the globe. All of these lands have been purchased purely by donations and personal contribution. The person who spoke before us, Aravinda, he himself purchased land and donated to the forest that I manage, Revelation Forest. A part of that had to be consolidated and he used his own fund Today, you tell me that you go and you buy a stock in a company or you buy land, and I tell you that you won't own it. Nobody wants, they want 100 due diligence before making any substantial investment. And people invested their life savings, like my mentor Patrick. His parents died in a premature car accident in 1989. He got a big inheritance from France, and with that he bought 30 acres of land for Auroville. And today that man has been picked up. See? So that's...
He built 10 houses.
Yeah. He has built 10 houses and donated almost 30 acres of land. Today in valuation, his contribution alone crosses 100 crores in monetary value of what he has done for India in the past 40 years. And today we have an administration which writes a mail to him that he doesn't deserve to live in Auroville. See? So that's the level of injustice we are dealing with. Coming to your question of land ownership, it's very, very important. Aurovillians tried an experiment of non-possession. Mother wanted people to transcend the concept of private possession. So they came up with a form of collective possession. Today that collective possession is being weaponized as government possession. You see, there is a difference between community ownership, stewardship, trusteeship. These are concepts which are very nuanced. Trusteeship doesn't mean that you own the land. You manage the land as long as you are in trust of that ideals for which the lands are meant for. So the Auroville residents are trustees or stewards or managers or guardians or whatever you want to call it, for that land to act as a vessel for humanity as a whole. Many people come, go, donated personal possession. The idea, it's an ideal to transcend that personal possession. Now in terms of practical difficulties, there is an ideal version, then there is the ground reality, and then there are deviations thereof. Practically, we are an autonomous institution under the Ministry of Education. All lands are vested in the Auroville Foundation. Now, according to the new administration, they are all government lands now. That is the claim, So, in practice, a large number of people, just through reinterpretation of the Act, have been dispossessed of what they held dear for decades. Decades worth of savings, decades worth of entrepreneurial energy. Auroville's physical assets alone, there's a whole lot of cultural intangible stuff. But even if I give you a summary of the physical assets of Auroville, it's 3,300 acres of land, 1,500 homes, no two homes look alike. All of them are beautiful architectural prototypes. Auroville's architecture itself is a case study globally. International architecture schools send their students to study Auroville's architecture. 1,500 homes, more than 50 guest houses with more than 300 rooms, more than 500 micro and medium enterprises, 23 schools, 15 auditorium and amphitheaters, 2 million square feet of public spaces like this. All of this built with sweat, love and labor without expecting possession. Today you tell me anybody who will do something like this. You tell somebody, let's not take names, but a corporate house or a small RWA. Government mandates that when you build a housing society, you have to leave 10% as open space reserve. The architects and the housing people who are buying into that house, they debate that so much. Why should I pay and give 10% to government? 10% open space reserve to have some tree cover in the overall urban landscape. That is all that the development regulation says. And that is such a pain point for buyers. Why should I let go of 10% of my land as open space reserve? And here is a set of people who have given 100% for humanity. But it was a social compact. Mother said that you come, let go of your personal possession. But to look after you is Auroville's responsibility. You leave, but there is a net below. Today, a bunch of crooks have come in and cut that net across. The fundamental social contract has been breached. After their life savings, their personal inheritance, and their life's work, 40, 50 years, there are people here who are born and brought up here. There's Divya who's second generation, there's Kripa who's second generation. Kripa, she's second generation, she's born and brought up here. So, their parents, her father is personally donated their entire family's inheritance to Auroville. Today they have nothing. And that community ownership is misinterpreted to dispossess people at scale. And this is wrong. This is not Tamil culture. This is not bulldozer Raj, doesn't work here. There is a set of people who want to import bulldozer rule here. The way the bulldozer and the JCB is weaponized, I see telltale signs. I've served in Kashmir, I know violence begets violence. I came here to transcend that violence, but today I see that everybody with a developmental work order is delegated violence. You see, a JCB is an instrument of violence, and so every tahsildar, every collector, every assistant engineer is given a JCB. All that he has to do is make a phone call, 3,000 rupees for a day, he has a JCB. That's a weapon in his hand. When did we start delegating violence? The fundamental premise of my existence is under question, So, these things are wrong, and we need to really work on these things. What land ownership means. Can we have alternate interpretations of land ownership which form communal ownership, community ownership, collective ownership, trusteeship, non-possession? These are the various multifaceted, multidimensional attributes of just land possession that Auroville has been experimenting with. Community ownership, non-possession, trusteeship, stewardship, but all of them have been now bracketed into government ownership. So that's where it is.
So a huge thanks is due for the photo organizers. 1 minute. So a huge thanks is due. Kripa and team have been involved in the designing part of it. Kripa, one thing that people have been saying is, apart from the claps, you also need to take some brickbats. A young student asked me, sir, the photo exhibition doesn't tell whom you are fighting against. Who has done all this? The photo exhibition doesn't tell that. So we need to tell that. So we'll add to it. Yeah? So I found it a very useful suggestion. So yes, so Bhaskar, please, we need your bite. We need everyone's bite. Whoever has come to you, please.
எல்லாருக்கும் வணக்கம். நான் தமிழ்லேயே பேசிக்கிறேன். ஆரோவில் பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் வெளியில் அவுட் சைடராக இருக்குது உள்ளே வந்தாலும் அதில் வேலையை செஞ்சுருக்கிறேன் கொஞ்சமாக. ஆனால் விஷயம் என்னென்னா, இந்த தமிழ் சமூகத்துக்கு கொண்டு போய் சேர்க்க வேண்டியது இதுக்கு 2 லைன் தான் இவங்க எல்லோரும் பேசும்போது மைண்டில் ஓடிக்கிட்டே இருக்குது தமிழில். மரம் சா மருந்துன்னு கொள்ளலான்னு ஒரு வார்த்தை இருக்குது தமிழில், ஒரு ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட்டு சங்க இலக்கியத்தில். இப்போ நாம் இறந்து போகிறோம், நமக்கு ஒரு இறந்து போகக்கூடிய அளவுக்கு ஒரு மோசமான நோய் இருக்குது அப்படின்னா, ஒரு மரத்தையோ ஒரு செடியோ முழுமையாக கொண்டு அந்த நோயை போக்கக்கூடாது. அதில் இருக்கிற உபப்பொருட்கள், பை ப்ராடக்ட்ஸை வச்சு தான் உங்கள் நோயை போக்கிக்கணும். உங்கள் உயிருக்கும் அந்த உயிருக்கும் ஈக்குவேட் பண்ணிக்கக்கூடாது அப்படின்னு சொல்கிறாங்க. மரம் சா மருந்துன்னு கொள்ளா. அடுத்த லைன் என்னன்னா, இந்த அரசியல் உள்ளே கொண்டு வந்து, இப்போ பியூஷ் கேட்டார் இல்லையா, இந்த அரசியல் இப்படி ஒன்று மக்கள் வளம் கெட பொண்ணும் கொள்ளாதுன்னு சொல்கிறாங்க. ஆனால் மக்கள் துன்பப்படுற மாதிரி ஒரு அரசாங்கம் பொருளாதாரத்தை நடத்தவே கூடாது. 2வது லைன். 3வது லைனு, எப்படியாப்பட்ட தவமாக இருந்தாலும் உடம்பு கேட்குற மாதிரி பண்ணக்கூடாது. உரம்சா செய்ய உயர்த்தவும். இந்த 3 வரி தான் எனக்கு எல்லோரும் பேசும்போது ஓடிக்கிட்டே இருக்குது. ஒரு மரத்தை தான் உயிரே போகிற காரணமாக இருந்தால் கூட வெட்டக்கூடாது. ஒரு செடியோ என்னமோ அந்த உபப்பொருள் தான், எல்லா தழை பட்டை வேறு இதை பயன்படுத்தி வாழலாம். அந்த முழு மரத்தை கொண்டு என் உயிரை காப்பாற்றக்கூடாதுங்கிறது தமிழுடைய பண்பாடாக இருக்குது. இந்த பண்பாட்டை ஆரோவில் முன்னெடுத்து அதை உயிரை வச்சு வேலை செய்கிறதுனால இதை ஒரு தமிழ் சமூகத்தின் பிரச்சனையாகவே பார்க்கணும். முதல்ல தமிழ் சமூகம் குளோபலுக்கு என்ன கற்றுக் கொடுத்துருக்குன்றது தான் மதர் அவங்க மொழியில் பேசியிருக்கிறாங்க. அதை தான் ஒவ்வொருத்தரும் சொல்லும்போது நம்ம கேட்குறோம். எதையுமே தனி உடைமைக்கு எதிரான ஒரு சமூகமாக நாம் மாறும்போது தான் அது வரும்னு நினைக்கிறோம். 2வது, வேகத்துக்கு எதிராக, வேகம் என்பது எப்பவுமே வன்முறையானது தான். அந்த வேகத்துக்கு எதிராக செயல்படக்கூடிய ஒரு அமைப்பை காப்பாற்ற வேண்டியது இங்கே இருக்கிற ஒவ்வொரு கடமையாக பார்க்குறேன். என்னால் நான் என்ன பங்களிப்பு செய்ய முடியுமோ அதை செய்கிறேன்.
மாஸ்டர் ஃபஸ்ட்டு இந்த வாட்ஸ்அப் குரூப் ஒன்று வச்சுருக்கோம். இதில் ஆரோவில் தவிர வேறு எதுவும் பேசுறது இல்லை. ஆனால் ஆரோவில் பற்றி நிறையா பேசுவாங்க நம்ம மக்களுக்கு. பட் ரொம்ப முக்கியமான குரூப். ஸோ முடிஞ்ச அளவுக்கு எல்லாமே இந்த குரூப்பில் சேர்ந்துக்கிட்டீங்கன்னா ரொம்ப நல்லாயிருக்கும். QR கோட் அங்கே முன்னாடி கூட வருது, என் கூட கூட வாங்கிக்கலாம். QR கோட் கொடுத்துட்றேன். ஸோ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஸ்டெப் ஆஃப் எக்ஸ்பிரஸிங் சாலிடாரிட்டி எங்களுக்கு சப்போர்ட் பண்ணணும்னா ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஸ்டெப் வாட்ஸ்அப் குரூப்பில் சேர்ந்துருங்க. சின்னது பண்ணால் கூட போதும். ஒரு ஸ்டெப், ஒரு படி கூட நின்னா கூட போதும். அவங்க சிக்கலான விஷயம். இல்லைங்க, அதான் ரைட் கொடுங்க. ரெக்கார்ட் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கோம், நாங்கள் எடிட் பண்ணி யூஸ் பண்ணோம். எங்களுக்காக கொடுங்க, உங்களுக்காக. All people who have come new, please give one bite.
வணக்கம், திலீப் சென்னையில் இருக்கேன். ஸோ சூழல் சார்ந்து சோஷியல் ஜஸ்டிஸ் சார்ந்து வேலை செஞ்சுட்டு இருக்கோம். இது நாங்கள் சென்னையோட அர்பன் ஸ்கேப்பில் ஒர்க் பண்ணும்போது அது வந்து எப்படி இருக்குங்கிறத பார்க்குறோம். பட் when you compare it to the scale of Auroville, எனக்கு ஆரோவில்லோட இஷ்யூ வந்து ஆல்மோஸ்ட் ஒரு 5-6 இயர்ஸ் முன்னாடி எனக்கு தெரிய வரும்போது இட் வாஸ் ஷாக்கிங். ஏன்னா ஆரோவில் சப்போஸ் டு பி என்ன மாதிரி அப்போது புதுசாக இருந்தது. ஆரோவில் சப்போஸ் டு பி த மோஸ்ட் நேச்சர் சென்ட்ரிக் க்ரீன் ஸ்பேஸ், சோ கால் க்ரீன் ஸ்பேஸுங்கிற லங் ஸ்பேஸுன்னு சொல்கிறேன். ஸோ அப்போது அதோட டிஸ்ட்ரக்ஷன் ஆரம்பிக்கும் போது இட் வாஸ் வெரி ஷாக்கிங். அப்போ ஐ ஹவ் பீன் ஃபாலோயிங் இட் அப். அதுக்கப்புறமா என்ன ஆரோவில்குள்ளே கொண்டு போன பெருமை ராமநாத் இருக்குது. ஸோ ஆரோவில்ல ஸோ ஐ பீன் தேர் அ லாட் ஆஃப் டைம்ஸ். ராமநாத் கூப்பிட்டு போயிருக்காரு. ஸோ அதனால் எனக்கு தெரியும். ஸோ எனக்கு இதை வந்து நான் ரொம்ப டீட்டெயிலாக எடுத்துகிட்டு போக விரும்பல. எனக்கு இப்போ அருண் சொன்ன ஒரு வார்த்தை தான், ஜேசிபி இஸ் அ வெப்பன் ஆஃப் டிஸ்ட்ரக்ஷன்ங்கிறது. தட் இஸ் வாட் ஐ ஒர்க் ஆன் எவ்ரிடே மாடல். இங்கே இருக்கிற எவிக்ஷன்ஸாக இருக்கட்டும், இங்கே இருக்கிற மாடல்ஸாக இருக்கட்டும், அண்ட் that is how we work. So anything that comes into destruction is supposed to be stopped. I just put it up very short. So I'll do whatever I could, and that's it.
Then we will feel dejected. We have come all the way from Auroville. People have come here. We have taken some effort. Come, then Raj Murugan is here with us. அவர் எங்களை வச்செல்லாம் படம் எடுத்து போகிறாரு. He's taking us a token advance. Yeah, please.
Hi everybody. Can I sit down? Do you guys care if I'm sitting? I don't feel like standing. You know, the thing that I sit here wondering is why should those of you who haven't been to Auroville, those of you who don't know what is this Auroville, like why should you care? Right? Like why should you care what's happening to a few thousand people in South India? And I would like to offer that my answer to that question that I posed to you is that you might care because a big part of Auroville is freedom. Freedom. And freedom, if we look all over the world, is under threat. Freedom, true freedom. Freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom of spirituality, freedom of who you love, freedom of if you have children or not. And I believe that what's happening in Auroville is just a little flavor taster of what we see all over the world. And so in a way, it's not special per se, because we see it happening everywhere. But I just, whenever I come to an event like this, I really want to ask everyone to think, like, what does this have to do with me? I don't live in Auroville. I live in Auroville, but some of you don't live in Auroville. You live where you live. So what I would offer is that everybody think about freedom and what you will do to protect the freedom that you have, that you had, that you want to have, who you want to love, what you want to say, where you want to live, where you want to go, how you want to move and be in the world. Because I can tell you, in Auroville, in my experience, and I'm not from India, I'm a visitor to India, I'm a grateful guest. I have felt a level of freedom that I did not know was possible as a human being. And that is happening in this state, on this land, in this place, and it's a place called Auroville. Now that's my experience. But I have a feeling that if you talk to other Aurovillians who are here today, you hear a similar story because freedom is fundamental. It's freedom from your inside of your body, right? It's inside of your soul. You have freedom to create. You have freedom to express, and that is under threat. And so maybe that's why you might be interested and you might care. That's just another angle, and I just wanted to say that. So thank you. We lost our MC. Are there other Aurovilians who might want to say something, or guests who might want to ask a question? Raquel is here.
I just would like to complete what you said about freedom.
Yeah.
Because I feel that the distinction should be done between inner freedom and outer freedom. And inner freedom is very difficult to smash unless you bring such a level of fear that even inside you fear to think. You don't, you have a thought which is slowly sleeping and so on. But so far, I feel that the community of Auroville, the people of Auroville have kept quite a bit of inner freedom. I would say even that the ordeal through which we are going is rather stimulating this freedom, because we must go for resources deeper. We must deepen the resources that can respond and keep our balance. What has been taken over is mostly outside freedom, and it is not to minimize it, because the very project of Auroville is to bring this creativity, this truth inside, outside. That is the whole challenge. So there is a very strong drawback from the present situation, because the outward power, outward freedom that we have to express and try to express the inner truth individually and collectively is being prevented from, is being blocked, is being discounted, is being threatened. That's a very, very strong drawback in our view. The whole thing is about freedom. We can have it inside. You know, we go in the mountain. You know India, huh? India is very famous for hermites or yogis who are withdrawing, and then you get fantastic peace, white, eternal, and so on. Auroville is not about individual freedom, individual inner freedom, yogic freedom. Auroville is about the conquest of the life as it is, and an attempt to bring the truth, the freedom, the love, the beauty, all what you can imagine from inside to out.
Is it still recording?
No,
It's not.
only a shot.
Yeah, my name is Arun. So I'm living in Tamil Nadu. So I'm just getting an understanding of what Auroville project is and how you maintain the land, and that you are being a steward to the land, than being an owner of the land. So I would like to ask a question about how we can expand this project in Tamil Nadu, or what can be done so that we can understand from you about the part of being not being an owner, rather being a steward of the land. And climate change thing is a global phenomenon. So to fight it, we have to be aware of it. Every part of every panchayat owners and panchayat leaders and everybody have to be aware of it. So what can we do about and how can we learn from you guys so that when the battle is happening on every ground in Tamil Nadu and India and everywhere. So how can we fight it and how we can move forward or what is the solution to these things? So how can we take a very regional solution to it?
Yes.
சரி இப்போ நீங்கள் சொன்னீங்க சரி அது என் பேர் அசோக் நான் ஆரோவில்ல தான் இருக்கேன் ஆரோவில்லையும் இப்போ ஆரோவில்லை சுற்றி ஒரு 5 கிராமம் இருக்குது அந்த 5 கிராமத்தில் நான் ஒரு கிராமத்தில் இருக்கோம் இந்த சின்ன வயசில் ஆரோவில் இருந்தது நீங்கள் கேட்ட கேள்விக்கு என்ன வழின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னாக்கா வந்து செல்ஃப் கவர்னன்ஸ் எங்களை நாங்களே வந்து நிர்வகிக்கிற உரிமை வேணும். நாங்கள் முன்னாடி எப்படி இருக்கோம்னாக்கா ரெசிடென்ஸ் அவங்க தேர்ந்தெடுத்து என்கிட்ட லீடர்ன்றது கிடையாது. அப்போ ரெசிடென்ஸாக அவங்க தேர்ந்தெடுத்து குரூப்ஸ் இருக்குது. அப்போ நாங்கள் குரூப் டிசிஷன் தான் எடுப்போம். அதில் அந்த குரூப் டிஸ்கஷனே வந்து ரெசிடென்ஸ்லாம் பார்ட்டிசிபேட் பண்ணி தான் அதில் வந்து ஒரு மனதோட அந்த அந்த ஒற்றுமை எந்த அளவுக்கு இருக்குதுன்னு பார்த்து தான் நாங்கள் வந்து கன்செப்ஷுவல் பேசிஸ் தான் வந்து இதுவரை எடுத்துருக்கோம். அப்படி தான் வந்து நீங்கள் வந்து அந்த ஹியூமனிட்டின்ற ஆஸ்பெக்ட்டுக்கு போக முடியும். நீங்கள் ஹையர் லெவல் ஆஃப் திங்கிங் கான்ஷியஸ்லி அப்போ தான் நீங்கள் செல்ல முடியும். இப்போ நாங்கள் வந்து ஒரு இடத்துல இருந்து இல்லை இதுதான் நீங்கள் செய்யணும் அப்படின்னு நாங்கள் சொன்னோம்னாக்கா அது வந்து சரி வராது. அப்புறம் இன்னொன்று வந்து எங்களுக்கு வந்து சுதந்திரமாக வந்து செயல்படுறதுக்கான ஒரு சூழ்நிலை வேணும். இது வந்து இப்போ மதர் வந்து அட்டானமஸ் பாடி தான் வரதில்லை. இப்போ நாங்கள் வந்து மினிஸ்ட்ரி ஆஃப் எஜுகேஷன் கீழே இருக்கோம். இப்போ இந்த சுதந்திரம் வந்து எங்களுக்கு தேவை. அதுக்கு இப்போ நாங்கள் வந்து அதை நோக்கி நாங்கள் போகிறதுக்கு கொஞ்சம் டைம் எடுக்குது. இட்ஸ் டேக்கிங் லிட்டில் பிட் ஆஃப் டைம் ஃபார் அஸ் டு கெட் தேர். ஸோ ரைட் நவ் that most Auroville வந்து நம்மளுடைய தனிப்பட்ட மனிதர்களால் ஒவ்வொருடைய கான்ட்ரிபியூஷன்ஸில் தான் நிலம் வாங்கி வீடு கட்டி இந்த அளவுக்கு Auroville வந்து கொண்டு வந்து வச்சுருக்கோம். அப்போ இப்போ கவர்மெண்ட் வந்து இப்போ நாங்கள் தான் செய்வோம் அப்படின்றப்ப அது வந்து முற்றிலுமாக வந்து பறிக்கப்படுது. அது எங்களுக்கு வேணாம்னு சொல்கிறோம். இப்போ எங்களுக்கு வந்து நாங்கள் தனி சுதந்திரமாக செயல்படுறதுக்கு தான் எங்களுக்கு வேணும். அதுதான் ஃபியூச்சர். அதுதான் நாங்கள் கேட்குறோம். அப்புறம் அதில் நிறையா நம்ம அந்த சிட்டி அந்த நகரத்தை எப்படி கட்ட போகிறோன்றதெல்லாம் வந்து பார்ட்டிசிபேஷன்ஸ் எல்லாம் அதான் செய்யும். அதுதான்
Hello everyone, I'm Vivek. I studied architecture and through my course, that's the first time I visited Auroville. So, someone told me that Auroville stands for freedom, and I think these spaces for alternative thought or expression of life are antithesis to the current state, and I think if Auroville is like a honeycomb, there are a lot of these, not just Aurovillians, but a lot of people who resonate with this lifestyle buzzing around Auroville, right? Maybe for a few months in a year or something. So, I think the fight is maybe for many of us because Auroville is there. I mean, we see it like a mecca of alternatives, right? I mean, we visit there, we come there for toe dipping in a sense of hope and go back. I think the fight is for the idea that and it has been quite successful. I mean, many alternative communities have emerged and like a small tide pool and have vanished, but Auroville has somewhat sustained, right? So, yeah, and that, yeah, that also helps us that, hey, yeah, there is an experiment like Auroville and it's sustained. So, I just wanted to say, yeah, thank you for everyone who has, built this for people like us to look up to. And yeah, and I don't know how the resistance is, being built up because I'm also part of few environmental resistance, and we are not able to play by the book right now. The state of affairs is such that there is no way to play by the book, right? So I don't know what alternative, you know, uh, forms of organization or something is necessary, and I find this very interesting ways to galvanize opinions. Thank you so much.
You want to say something? Okay guys, I guess everybody is leaving. We're going to shut down the live.